Just Facebook or? Okay. Hi, welcome to Samadi Bali Live. And today we have our honored guest Wang with us again to talk about health, vitality, and the new paradigm and herbalism, apparently. So I'm super excited about the topic today. Welcome, Wang.
Well, thank you for having me again. It's always fun to talk about these things.
Yeah. So you were telling me earlier that you are going to be turning 55 in December, and which really like inspired you to think about this topic of a new paradigm and health and chi. So yeah, tell me
Sure.
about it.
Another, well, the next phase of the 55 years of adventure. Well, this is how I look at it, right? So, within everything in our being, how we frame our reality and how we kind of um, create that energy within us to make that reality real is all within our creation. It's all within our power. So it just occurred to me I was doing something very mundane, like maybe after showering, I was just standing there, and it just occurred to me, like, wow, you have another 55 years of adventure. So, and in the last 55 is a lot of things happen, many lifetimes worth of experiences.
Yeah.
So, because most people, when they turn about 50, 60, or even like towards 70, you think about, oh, my body's going to break and I have to retire, and thinking less activities and just like think more in terms of winding down life. And I don't really believe in this idea of winding down life.
Yeah, and you were telling me like at any time, right, any moment, the body can reconstruct. And I find it really interesting, because some people think certain things are irreversible.
Yeah.
But from what you have shared with me before we started this live talk, and I was really like, like when I hear you talk about like everything is, it sort of give me hope and everything is possible. Like we can reconstruct and change our health anytime we want, pretty much.
Yeah. Well, within a certain caveat, right?
Yeah.
There are things that you can do. So it's just a matter of how I look at it is how much resources you're going to put into the process. People think about, oh, I don't have time, and like certain things are more important than living and enjoying, and so everything has a space and time, right?
Yeah.
There's a time for work, a time to relax, a time to be with loved ones and family, and then there's a time that you set out to rejuvenate the self. And then a part of that time that you set out to rejuvenate the self involve a certain amount of self practices.
I really feel like when we do that self practice, when we do choose the time and space to rejuvenate ourselves, we're actually, are enabled to live in a much enhanced way. Like our relationship is better. Personally, when I spend time and space to nourish myself, I can truly feel like my chi flows better. And you were also talking about like earlier, like how some people heal and some people don't heal, even though when they been given the same modality for healing, but some do, some don't. And you talked about how chi flow is really like the key factor for healing and for the radiance for women to, like you could have all the parts, but if you don't have the radiance, you cannot really shine. So for me, I feel like when I do take that time and space, like when I get my acupuncture, when I take my herbal medicine, more like herbal tea, for me it's a lifestyle,
Sure.
For me, like I take the better sleep. I also been taking the new products that you made to detox, to really boost my immune system. And also additionally, some traditional Chinese methods like acupuncture, acupressure, gua sha, all of that. I feel amazing. I feel like full of energy, as if like you were talking about, you like how you've been sleeping a lot, like the body just needs a rest, right?
Yeah.
And then after you wake up, you feel energetic. And
Yeah.
at one point, you want to take more rest. And like for me, it's like, okay, when I feel good, I'm better at my work.
Yeah.
I have more creativity. I'm a better mom too. I'm more patient.
Sure.
It's almost
sure.
like my emotion impacts my physical condition impacts my emotion at all the time. Like when I'm feel good, like I'm much more patient with my kids.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, this is go to the basic idea of having enough resources
Yeah.
for self,
Uh-huh.
right? And that's why self-care, to make sure that we have enough time to unwind and enough nourishment at many levels, right? From the food to the tonic herbs, you want to
Yeah.
go there, or like being pampered and being cared for by other people and loved ones. All of that kind of nourish us, and even like going down to the beach and take a walk in the morning,
Yeah.
or you can go to the park, or like now I do a little bit more, like I go into the garden and do a little bit gardening,
Earthing.
I mean, yeah, even like I just take a shovel and I dig around a little bit and then and look around, and then like to nourish the soil, like if you come to my garden, this is in a way it's kind of messy.
Yeah, I've been there.
Because there's like a lot of fruit peels and vegetables and everything in there. But then when we started our garden some years ago, there was not a single earthworm
Really?
in the pot.
Wow.
Yeah, because it's just like, many decades of rice farming
Right.
in the soil. Everything is all depleted and nothing really grow.
Yeah.
So like through the years, it's just like a slow process of adding compost and then giving it the, all the waste, all the vegetable and fruit waste. And then when I dug into it a few days ago, I mean, the earthworms about that big, kind of wriggling around, and it's just like it's just full of it.
That's exciting.
Yeah, well, to a gardener, that is very exciting.
Yeah, that's very exciting.
Yeah,
I
so
agree.
I mean, it's a very small thing in life,
Yeah.
but then.
But it
these are the-
reflects a lot. Really,
Sure.
it reflects the fertility of the earth. Like how the earth, with your care, with all these, fertilizer from the vegetables and the fruits, it really nourishes the earth, and how the earth is also able to recover and rejuvenate over
Yeah.
time when you give the proper care, just like our body,
Sure,
Yeah.
exactly. So the human body is very capable of self-generation,
Yeah.
capable of healing itself, and then capable of reversing years and decades of damage.
I feel like this is a really, really important reprogramming belief that we all really need to take in. Like really hear it. Because, there's a lot of old conditionings that when we talk about certain disease or certain condition, the traditional, when I say traditional, like I mean the Western doctors, often tell you, oh, this is irreversible, you can get better, but this is, this is as good as you can get, that kind of thing. But from what you just shared, I really feel like it's such a powerful belief that's going to help us to rewire how we think, and therefore how we feel, and then how we act, and therefore creating a sort of a new paradigm, no?
Well, it's just in a way, it's like a mindset, right?
Yeah.
Some people don't believe in it because the body have been, in a way, so damaged that it's not capable
Yeah.
of the level of physicality that they could have. But a lot of it is just having the right kind of information,
Yeah.
and then keep working on it, and then don't buy into the quick fixes of like, 3 days detox or like 3 days like energy reboot and all that stuff. The truth is, most of us, because the environment is so toxic that
Yeah.
we're going to have to detox the rest
All
of
the
our life.
time.
And then
Okay.
we should take tonic herb or like eat healthy food the rest of our lives.
Like this pretty much need to be our lifestyle. Like
Yes.
it has been my lifestyle.
Yes.
you know, but I still have this mindset of like, you know, do your detox for 7 days and you feel amazing, or do your detox for 21 days and you be like transformed. But really, like when you say this need to be like a everyday living principle, I feel it myself. You
Sure.
know, I'm also turning, you know, like I just turned 41,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel it. Like this gotta be the lifestyle. It's just like doing, you know, like, oh, I can just do whatever, eat whatever, and watch TV and don't exercise, and then you do this detox thing. It doesn't work anymore. You know,
Yeah.
it really need to be a more sustainable way that like long lasting.
Yeah. Well, it's just more of a proactive mindset of approaching things,
Yeah.
right? Because a lot of times we're, you know, we either don't believe in it or we are not thinking that it won't. Well, because most people have a very minimal expectation of their health. You know, like if you go to the allopathic doctor, if you don't have any pain and you can walk, you're in good health.
You're a good health.
so that standard is very low, you know. So most people, by the time they hit 50 or 60, you know, the sex is not so good. You know, they cannot, you know, have it for as long as they want it, or having it at all.
So people think
And
it's
then-
normal. Like
yeah.
even if you're not having sex at all, it's still normal. Like I think.
Well, but the need to have that is, you know, it's source from the well of energy that we have inside, right? So the you know, reproduction, sexuality is just one way of
Yeah.
using our energy, a creative sense
Yeah.
of in a way it is so important. You know, if you look at it from a much higher perspective, you know, like the original creation, you know, of the void become yin and yang. You know what? That is a state of bliss,
Yeah.
right? So we're all trying to get back to that experience, and then for humans, the most accessible, the most intense experience of most of us, we all naturally have access to, you know, his love making. You know, so if you think about from that perspective, and that's why, you know, well, besides like, you know, procreation and all this stuff, it's so ingrained in our DNA. It's just like that kind of a reminder, because when we leave our body, you know, we will go back into that space of stillness and nirvana.
Yeah.
You know, so when we are here, yes, a lot of time we're so caught up in our,
Everyday drama.
you know, busyness,
Yeah.
you know, our lack of health and our suffering. You know, that we forgot that the essence of life is really, you know, joy and happiness in a way, right?
Yes. Yes.
So if you know, if you take like my experience of the last 5 decades, there's a lot of drama, you know, and sometimes it's just created by the environment, because I was born in a, you know, in the middle of a war, and then things happen along the way. But then all of these things kind of teach one to become stronger. And then if we work on it, we'll work at it, and then at some point, you know, you arrive in this place of knowing who you are.
Yeah.
You know, then life become, in a way, so much easier, because you approach things in a whole different way. You know, and then all the challenges and the difficulties form a foundation for the, you know, like the seed and the fruit of the future. You know, so, you know, when I am saying like, wow, the next 55 years, all I really envision is like something creative and constructive and fun, and it just, you know, it's an expansion of that.
Yeah.
And then I will get involved in this project and doing this and that, but all of these things are not really that important either.
No.
So it's just an expression, of the energy that is stored in the body, because we are within creation.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, it's natural to create.
Yeah. So when you talked about like the new paradigm and the herbalism, what is the key connection between this new paradigm and herbalism?
Well, the thing about herb is that, since I am really into it, I use it a lot, of course, because it's available.
You created
to me, right?
all these amazing.
Well, I created all of these basically from years of wanting to create them and wanting to swim in this world,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it started out with, in a way, kind of like a mystical fantasy type of a story of these Taoists and their rishis and their wild ginseng. I mean, if you grew up, it's a cultural thing.
It is. It is.
If you grew up like in as a Chinese, you always hear about martial arts, and you always hear
Kung
about
Fu, the Qi.
Qi, and you hear about Taoists, and you hear about all these kind of like, mystical things.
Yeah.
So this was how my mind was kind of like nurtured with that. So when I started out in the healing field,
Yeah.
this is like one of the area that I always dream of arriving at, right? So then, like to at least try to attempt to find the best that you can find,
Yeah.
and then see how it works on the body. If it has like a lot of benefits, great. So then whatever that those old texts, I mean, when I say old, they go back like thousands of years,
Yeah.
that talk about these things is true. So, and you don't know until you experiment with it and you put it in your body and see how it feels, and then you play with it and all of these things. And that is like one of the magic,
Yeah. 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 I know.
in herbalism. And it's kind of exciting also, because I see it as such an integral part of helping my system to be how it is nowadays, right? So, I do a lot of things, but then like to go back to the gym is not as possible unless you have more energy,
Yes. Correct.
and then to kind of maintain a certain lifestyle, or a more active lifestyle, is more or less difficult if you don't have enough energy. So, so the energy aspect of it is just like the dollars and cents and the resources that kind of give you that kind of like ability to live a life that you want to live.
Yes. Like pretty much without energy, we can't do anything, The energy comes from like the creative force, the Shakti, the prana. And if we like deplete it, it's literally the source is dry. So I feel like the herbs are like little fairies, and each herb has a different quality and different way to assist us, to help us. Like, for example, you mentioned reishi. Being Chinese and born in the Chinese culture, it is very true. We learn about reishi mushrooms and all these wild things. Like, it's literally in our culture, So you hear about amazing magical stories about it growing up. And then, having experimented with some of the herbs like reishi, I finally, begin to understand what it actually means. Like when you talk about reishi, it's really good for the Xin and the Shen, the heart, and the Shen, the mind. And so in a way, it's like it's one of in China they also always say that it's one of the most potent spiritual plant, one of them, right?
Yeah.
So when you take that, it also helps you to elevate yourself spiritually, and medically, if you look at the substance, I suppose, it's good for the heart and the mind. So the
Yes.
heart and mind obviously is related to our spirituality. So everything makes sense.
Sure, sure. Well, the key to herbalism is just like food.
Yeah.
You know, you just don't eat one meal a week, and some people do, but mostly, you know, you eat healthy, or you try to eat as healthy as possible regularly on
Yeah.
on a daily basis, or at least like do something that is contributing to your health,
Yeah.
right? So, and then it kind of have like a long-term kind of a building up positive effect on the system. You know, well, so what the tonic herbs can do is that they literally can regenerate in your internal organs.
Okay.
Like if a lot of people have, you know, weak adrenals and
Yeah.
kidneys.
Yeah. Nowadays, nearly everybody is adrenal exhausted. Adrenal.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, so having some kind of a tonic herb, I mean, you can go to like a more, you know, a gourmet level.
Like
You
this.
know, yeah, like
Yeah.
gourmet level, or like this is a very high quality herbal extract type.
Yeah. I'm still on this level.
So, you know, yeah, so it's just like they work, you know, according to whether you take this or you take this, they still work.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a matter of like this type would give you a little bit more oomph. You know, it just have that power within the wild herbs to give a little bit extra for the body,
Yeah.
and that's why they're valuable, and that's why they're more expensive
Yeah.
in
yeah,
general,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
You know, so
I mean, again, what's more expensive? If you have energy, in my opinion, when I have energy, the ability to manifest money,
sure.
to be honest, like abundance, is much easier. So people think about the way I see things, right? People usually think, oh, that's like, I don't know, 6 million, 10 million. Wow, that's really pricey. But if you think about what is the most essential thing in life, what creates abundance, what creates this, like, you know, beautiful life we all want to, you know, live, is energy. Without energy, without creativity, we
Yeah.
freeze. We, you know, we become this sense of like sense of, you know, we have a lot of sense of lack. It's all about state. Like I've been coaching for many years.
Yeah.
From my students, from my own experience, I really notice like when I feel like I'm dried up, either mostly with energy,
Yeah.
then my creativity goes, then my confidence goes.
Yeah.
Then everything goes, you know, then, you know, it's like really hard to attract a good job, really hard to attract good relationships, and even your health goes down. But when the energy, when the physical health begin to like rejuvenate, you know,
Yeah.
all of a sudden I feel better. And then it's much easier for me to connect to my inner wisdom, my inner source.
Yeah.
And from that space, it's easy. Like I say this because I really experienced it.
Sure.
It's like everything
I
becomes
believe you.
easy. Yeah.
I believe you. But you know, and that's why, like in the old days, in traditional Chinese medicine, you know, they call the three treasure, not gold and silver and cryptos, but you know, but your Jing and your Qi and your Shen.
Shen, Jing Qi Shen.
You know,
yes.
so when you have these things within you, you will automatically bring to you whatever you need. It's just naturally, right? Because
Yeah.
energy attract energy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but when you have no resources, so
I understand what Jing Qi Shen is because I'm Chinese, obviously. But maybe our viewers, like, they're curious about, like, what is Jing, what is Qi, what is Shen, and we've been talking about Qi. So what is Jing and Shen for, you know?
well, Jing is connected to the water element,
Yeah.
right? So it's like the fluid of the body. You know, if you see kids, healthy kid, 5, 6 years old, 16, 17 years old, they have that kind of like a fullness and a plumpness in the tissue, right?
Full of
Yeah, and then what happened with people when they get older, you know, is that the Jing started to get depleted. You know, so the system dries up.
Yeah.
You know, a person can look perfectly healthy, but then if you know how to look at the appearance, that person look dry. You know, so that is the Jing aspect of it. It's getting depleted, right? So like, you know, it's much harder for women to have children. You know, when Jing is
So
depleted.
it's related to fertility.
Well, it's related to everything.
Everything.
You know, like the a woman plumpness and that kind of like what's the word, sensuality, right? A lot of it, a lot of it is connected to this kind of like a fullness in the being.
Yeah.
But the thing that I'm trying to convey is that it doesn't matter where we are at. We can always build this kind of a dream body or dream space that we wanted to.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you know, if you look at a picture of me when I was 28,
Yeah.
fresh out of college, dressed out, and didn't have a very good job, didn't have a very good prospect. I was overweight and all that stuff. I mean, if I keep walking that line, now that I'm 55, I'm probably just like sitting around waiting for my heart attack. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like a whole different kind of like a paradigm shift.
Yeah,
And then
it is.
thank God, you know, I got involved in healing, and then, you know, I had a picture of me, so I got involved in the healing field when I was 33, right? So like a couple years prior to that, you know, I was like at a space I feel like, wow, I really need to go back to exercising and doing all the positive things for my life, because when I was a teenager at that time, I was very active and athletic.
Yeah.
And then like somehow along the way with stress and life pressure, you know, I just lost my way. So by the time I was about 31, I went back into exercise and all that stuff. So when I started school, you know, one day I showed an old picture of myself, you know, with some friends on a hiking trip. And I show it to my teacher. He looked at it and he looked at me, he's like, why the fuck do you want to show it to me? That kind of a face, he was like looking at me like, huh? And then I pointed out that was me like 3 years ago, and he was shocked.
Wow.
You know, so it's just like, so from that moment, you know, I basically took whatever knowledge I had and just keep working at it, right?
Yeah,
So I was
yeah.
doing yoga for 10 years, and then, you know, nowadays I don't do it at all that much anymore. And then, you know, I step into Qigong, and then step into meditation, and then like the diet thing, you always have to work on that. And then of course, in the last 10 or so years, I probably taken a lot of herbs. You know, it's just natural, and I love them, right? You know, so because the herb just help to support and heal the body in ways that food just couldn't.
No, I agree.
You know, so
Absolutely.
yeah, they are like in a whole different league. You know, so yeah, so this is how I'm rebuilt. Actually, the thing that kind of like, you know, reframe my mind and is the antidote.
Yeah, let's talk about the antidote, because I've been taking it for like in the last 5 days.
Yeah, so what happened was I was having like starting to have some kind of like a liver heat kind of a thing, and then prior to that I have like some really old, like 2-3 decade old skin issues. You know,
Yeah.
my body naturally have more or less like a fungal kind of a thing. You know, some people are more prone to parasites, some people are more prone to virus,
Yeah.
but my type of body are more prone to fungus.
Yeah.
Right, so, you know, I literally like thinking, okay, you know, I'm not gonna be able to move past this. And then I kind of like, in a way, a coincidence or an inspiration or an accident that I created the antidote to treat myself, you know, out of a serious kind of skin issue. And then it healed so many other things in my body, you know, that it kind of give me hope that, you know, I can actually reframe my reality,
Yeah.
you know, because a lot of these things that have been bogging down my system for so long that I couldn't get rid of, is finally I can see the path, you know, to clear them. Well, because they're important, right? Because there are certain part of the infections and certain part of the fungal things that are so ingrained in the body that you just cannot unload them. I don't know if you know, but like most people in the old days, before COVID, most people in the hospitals don't die from the heart attacks and whatever. They die from the fungus eating them alive.
I have no idea.
Yes, so I mean, just so if you imagine like you are old, your immune system is very weak by the time you get to the hospital.
Yeah.
And then you have all these fungus, because fungus is in the body to eat all the dead tissues, right? So when people get into that stage of health, their immune system is shot, and then they get all the crappy food from the hospital, all the sugar and carbs and all that stuff. So they're basically just like their immune system and their chi cannot ward off all the fungus. Like you have young people nowadays with candida, and I mean, I used to have them too, right? I used to pull them out. There's like these pure white strings of candida, so, and then these things is actually, if you give them enough time, enough carbs and sugar, they will overtake the body. Just from the inside, because we don't see it, with the skin wrapping. And then actually, it's actually good to have skin issues at some level, because skin issues is like relatively deep in the process already, right? And then, if it show up, then it gives you an opportunity to say, wow, there's something in my body that's quite deep, and I want to be able to fix it. Because sometimes because of vanity also, right? Because we don't want to look like.
So a lot of skin issues, rashes, eczema, and things like that, or unknown skin, itchy skin, mostly related to fungal and parasite, and
or the liver gets so congested, and the system just gets so congested that things just don't move. Right. So all of these things actually is a blessing when they come out into the body. Like, wow, so you can deal with them. It's kind of like having, being unhappy about stuff in life. And then you don't express it, and you don't try to resolve it, and then you try to hide it and cover over it with whatever. And then, like, in the outer appearance, things are kind of okay, but they're not. But then on the inside, we're the being getting eaten alive in a way. So we rot, losing our energy, losing our immune system.
So like you said, in a way, it's really good that you can see the symptom, because when you see the symptom, you can deal with it. So in a way, those symptoms are like opportunities for us to create, something positive for ourselves physically.
Sure.
Right?
Sure. And it also, the fact that if you can clear the body, at such a deep level, right? I mean, you can do the colon cleanse, the kidney cleanse, the liver cleanse, and the lymphatic stuff, and da-da-da-da-da. But then that, at some level, is just like still scratching the surface of the body.
All right.
I mean, if you imagine, if you
how do we go deep? Come on, let's go deep.
Well, I was taking a lot of the stone dissolvers and all these things. They were very helpful. I'm not saying that they're not helpful, because I always have like more or less like because I'm a liver body, right? Like a lot of heat all the time. Like I'm,
Pitta.
I like ice
Fire.
and just water. So when the antidote came into my reality, I can finally have certain deep things within my system resolved, right? So that provides a lot of hope, because you can take all the tonic things you want, but then if you have these kind of a lingering things in the body that you don't see, then eventually, it'll wear down your system.
Right. So that's sort of like a chronic thing. And if you don't take care of the roots, you don't take them out, they will just keep coming back and keep coming back.
Sure. Well, see, one of the things, perhaps something like this is a little bit little bit easier to to relate,
Yeah.
because it's more of a physical symptom that some people might be able to identify with, right? So like in Chinese medicine, they talk a lot about cold trap in
Yes.
the body.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, because,
湿寒,
yeah,
the dampness and cold that trapped in the body. Yeah.
dampness and cold trap in the body that causes illness when people get old.
Yes.
Right? Why is that? Because you lose your fire, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
nowadays with the lifestyle, with the diet, and with everything, people lose their fire. Men lose their fire, and they have a hard time, having an erection. That's a lot of it, just fire.
Yeah.
And women lose their fire. They have no energy. Kind of like, oh, life is kind of a drag. Blah, blah, blah. There's like this whiny and complaining thing.
Yeah,
start to
yeah,
come out,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Because it affects that emotionally. So one of the thing about healing, because how we experience the human body is only at the level that we understand it, and only at the level that we have experienced it, and that's where like the spiritual aspect of it comes in, right?
Yeah.
The inner cultivation, the meditation, and all this stuff. So years ago, when I got really deep into meditation, like every morning I get up, I would go to the toilet, I come back and I meditate. I don't do anything else.
Right.
First thing in the morning. So I would meditate for like an hour, 2 hours. And every time for a period of months, after I meditate, I would feel like freezing cold. I was living in Los Angeles.
Wow.
I would feel freezing cold, right? So I would, I live in a building at that time, and it doesn't have any sun. So I would literally wrap myself in my comforter,
Right.
walk out to the street corner, on 5th and Santa Monica, and stand in the sun until my body warmed up, So I looked like a homie, but I didn't care. I was just like standing there, kind of like shaking inside,
Right.
So like there are a lot of homeless people there. So so anyway, the meditation at the certain stage drives out the cold.
Right. So it's like expelling all the cold out of the
Yes.
body. That's why you're feeling it.
Yes,
Yeah.
it drives it takes you from the bone and it drives it out.
Right.
So anyway, the human body is like a mystery.
Really is.
It's the 5 elements.
I
right?
mean, life is a mystery itself.
Yeah, we think we understand it, but we really don't.
So always keep this mindset of like, in Chinese we say empty cup, like 空杯,
Sure.
meaning like always with curiosity, a childlike curiosity. It's just like, how our spirituality, how our mindset, our emotion affects our physical body. And even like, I was reading some herbalism books, and it talks about like certain herbs. Each herb has a spirit, apparently, and that spirit has its own consciousness. And the spirit, that the consciousness of the herbs is supposed to like, when we inject it, when we eat it, take it, it really helps to sort of balance out whatever we need to balance out inside,
Yeah.
And in a way, when we have this lifestyle, it really helps us not just physically, but also, emotionally and spiritually. Yeah?
Totally. Well, the human body is a vehicle, right? So today we talk a lot about like the meat and potato aspect of
Right.
existence. And that is important. It's an important foundation, but then at the same time, it's just a fundamental but small part of existence.
Yeah.
The meat and potato part of it. So we have to understand this vessel, and then thank you. And then understand like there's so much more within our being. So the kind of like you would understand the body more.
Yeah.
The more you go into meditation,
Right.
and then self-cultivation, right? So these are the glimpses of it. So like lately, I've been I got a batch of cordyceps. They're like one of the most potent um, rejuvenators of the human system, right?
Yeah,
So I'm,
yeah.
I'm experimenting with it.
Yeah,
you know.
the Chinese name is really interesting, actually.
Mhm.
Cordyceps in Chinese is called 冬虫夏草. In the winter, they become a worm. In the summer, they become a herb. So like they change the
Yes.
forms. Like when you see it, it looks like herb, but they go from a worm into a herb. It's like magic, really.
Yeah, these are harvested wild,
Yeah.
in the Himalayas.
Wow.
So they're relatively rare.
Mm-hmm.
That they're actually they're not so easy to find, right? So there's only a limited quantity
Yeah.
every year that they can harvest.
Yeah.
So and they're probably, I would say that in the world of tonic herbs, right? You got the ginseng and you got the reishi, you got the this and that. Cordyceps is probably like one of the most potent rejuvenators of the human system, especially like the wild ones. I mean,
Yes, especially, obviously.
yeah, these things are like the all the mystical stuff that they talk about,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So like I got a batch, so I'm just like experimenting with like what is the best way to make it
Right.
into something that I can consume and see how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
And this is no small experiment.
No.
So this is kind of like how my reality kind of drifts, in between like all the herbalism and doing this and that.
Mm-hmm. I see. That's amazing. Like, so from our conversation before, like you've told me that in these tonic tinctures, you often put cordyceps.
None of these have cordyceps. The wild orgasmic has the semi-wild North Korean ginseng.
Okay.
Right, so North Korean is the best environment, to grow ginseng in.
Okay.
Well, it's probably a lot more pristine because it's a relatively low-tech kind of a country, and then these are grown like in the ideal mountain areas
Right.
of North Korea,
Okay.
and then it has like some other wild herbs in it, that is it's quite amazing unto itself. I decided to make this line exactly because I made something similar to wild orgasmic like about a little bit over a year ago, and I started to take it, and then I experienced such a change, in my fundamental energy. And then from that I thought, well, I'll create something, to share.
Right. So, I know the bestsellers from the shop. Like one of them is Better Sex. And also because the tinctures, they're like the high end of like herb tonics.
Yeah.
So the one that was really popular also was the wild orgasm.
Yeah.
Right? So in a way, you also mentioned like the, like the ability to make love and all that comes from our chi, right? Our prana or our jing and chi and shen. So I'm assuming this tincture is supposed to be really good for our jing chi shen, no?
Yeah. Yeah. What the wild orgasmic is like help with all three in general, right? So and the primal vitality
Yeah.
is a little bit more focused on the kidneys and adrenals, life force, vitality kind of a thing. It's the herb in there is a higher quality of the more common herb. And then the healthy blood.
Yeah. More for women.
Yeah, the men who are blood deficient can also
Okay.
you can also use.
Okay.
But then it's usually women who are more blood deficient.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's actually the 4 fundamental herbs for blood. In that formula, it's the basic
So we have competition here, like because we're in Bali, and like a couple of days ago was Golongan, which is like Christmas in Bali, and now we have this like Balinese music right outside of our of Samadi. So yeah, a little bit Bali taste.
Yeah, well, it makes living here very colorful.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Like the ceremonies, you know, every morning you see beautiful Balinese ladies to pray with their flowers and their holy waters, and you know, and the music on the street.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a different paradigm for sure,
Yeah.
from what we're used to.
Yeah, absolutely. So earlier you were talking about like all these lymphatic detox and all these things are still scratching the surface. And I was saying, I want to go deep. So that's why I've been taking these things to like really want to deeply cleanse myself. Can I really combine like the cleansing things and an antidote series with the tincture?
Well, you can. I mean, like, I wake up in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
I take 5 of the serapeptase.
Yeah.
And serapeptase is kind of like an enzyme derived from the stomach of the silkworm.
Mm-hmm.
And what it does, it did a few functions. It thins the blood, so
Right.
it makes the blood flow better,
Mhm.
especially for people who are like acidic and dehydrated,
Yeah.
or like the blood is a little bit more thick and coagulated.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing that it's known for, it helped to dissolve the arterial plaque.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so actually by taking that, it opens up a lot more blood and energy flow into my head.
Mm-hmm.
Like my face actually look more vibrant
Mm-hmm.
than before. Like even if you look at me like about 2 years ago, it has a dull look on my face, and I look at myself as like, this is not right. Well, see, but that is the thing. Healing is a lot about like, understanding how the body should look in a way and how it is looking at the moment, and then to figure it out like, there's something that's not right, and then find a solution for it.
Right.
Because, well, this is how. So then I started out with gnatokinase. It's an enzyme that is derived from soy. So, and then we have a formula like that in a capsule form.
Yeah.
Right. So, and then the serapeptase. So I've been taking that every morning. Another thing that it does is that it clears all the weak and dead cells in the body.
Mm-hmm.
So that your body can regenerate faster.
That
in a
sounds
way.
amazing. So if I'm taking these, do I need to take the other detox things that I used to take, like the lymphatic detox and
Well, they're different.
the colon detox? Different. Okay. So do you recommend that as a foundation? Then you go deeper.
You can do it that way.
Uh-huh.
I mean, and then I have like an all-in-one detox tea.
Yeah.
With some pearl mineral.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the pearl mineral is quite amazing. Like, because most human beings through the diet is somewhat, demineralized in the body, right? It shows like the hair not as strong with the nails or the teeth and all that stuff.
Right.
So this stuff helps the body. Like, I can count 3 instances before I turned 12 that I was malnourished for like a year or longer. So you can imagine like how that would impact my health at that time, and then my health in the future, right?
Yeah.
So part of all of it doing, it's also my way of saving my own ass. Literally, right?
Right.
Because I was just born in a certain circumstance that was not ideal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was like during the war, and my mom didn't have enough food, and what have you, like
Right.
the whole drama and story behind it, right? But then if I didn't do things to support my body, perhaps, you know, I would not have the level of health that I do now.
Wow.
A lot of action tonight.
Yes.
Yeah. So, okay. So anyway, so I would have a tea of on one detox and the mineral, you know, and then and then I would take some tonic. Like now, like in the last couple of weeks, I made this paste. You know, I didn't bring any here, but the paste with the cordyceps and a bunch of other herbs, and I would have that. It tastes just like candy.
Okay, next time you have to bring it to somebody.
Yeah, it's so good, and so I would have that, and then, you know, I would have some tea, and I usually do a meditation or whatever, and then when I come out, I would eat something, and then have some other, maybe have like more energy, and, you know, to just like support the body.
Yeah.
Why not, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like, you know, if you think about how much it costs to spend time in the hospital, or the pain and suffering that involve in
Oh my God.
poor health.
Yeah. It's a
Spending
no-brainer.
money-
It's
yeah.
no-brainer,
Yeah,
really.
spending money on
You
this
know.
thing is nothing.
Yeah.
You know, and then you get so much joy out of it.
Yes, absolutely. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for all the wisdoms. I feel like I learned so much, you know, like with the new paradigm and how we reframe our mind with like in every present moment we can shift and change our physical body, how our physical body can reframe and reconstruct, rejuvenate, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And I've also learned like, you know, like a deeper cleanse and how different tincture and how certain things like, you know, because sometimes if you're just taking the tincture and something herbal supplements, but without taking care of the either fungal or candida or certain pathogens inside of us, like it, you know, it really taught me the way I see it is like first we really need to cleanse that, right?
Sure.
And then
Sure.
these things are more like a super, like the superheroes of nutrients or healing elements,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And these are like the teas that we can just like drink daily that supports us, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I would advise that if, you know, a person who's deficient, you know, should focus on, you know, building back the nourishing
So
the body,
this
right?
is first.
You know, and then at the same time, well, many people are deficient and need to detox at the same time.
Right. So
So-
they can go simultaneously.
So like these kind of a tonic would work ideally with already like basically a healthier system, like not as toxic
right.
in the body, right?
So detox is crucial.
Yeah. Well, so the detox is like the basic foundation that we always do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, so and then you just layer these into like months and years of
Yeah.
work, and you will be surprised. You know, in about 6 months or a year, if you do everything right for yourself, I mean,
Yeah.
you will.
And the meditation and the,
Yeah,
you know, the yoga, the qigong, the gym. Yeah.
yeah, and then you can see such a positive change in your life. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, with all the thing like money, the most important thing is health.
Yes.
It's our energy, our state of well-being.
Yeah.
You know, and that is trump everything else.
Yeah. So that's the wisdom of Han Wan, reaching 55 years old. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for listening online. If you're interested in these products, please check. You can purchase them with a discount code Samadi10 at you can pretty much just click subscription and purchase with the discount code Samadi10. And of course you can also find them at our Samadi supermarket. And tomorrow we will have a Saturday evening market opening, the first time in Samadi as well. So you guys are welcome to join us, and see you guys next time. Thank you.
Thank you.